Have you ever thought about where your produce comes from? Most grocery chains receive produce from various local and national farmers. In fact, there are about 3.4 million farmers in the United States today. But of that staggering number, only 45,000 are Black farmers. At the Better Buggy, we are a proud group of Atlanta-based Black-owned farmers, selling produce locally and nationwide. Our easy-to-navigate online platform makes it easy for you to make a one-time purchase or to simplify your life by subscribing to our weekly produce box. Whichever frequency you choose, you can order with confidence, knowing you'll receive 100% organic farm-fresh produce. If you're looking for a thoughtful gift for a loved one that they'd actually find useful, be sure to pop by our online store where you can snag a gift card your recipient can use to order their own produce and t-shirts. Ready to start supporting local Black-owned farms and making healthier food decisions? Visit thebetterbuggy.com now to start shopping.
Ladies and gentlemen, many of you have heard of the passing of DMX, which I am not surprised. When they said they had to do a brain function test on him after he was placed on life support, I just had a feeling it wasn't going to come back good. So our brother is gone. And, just before I started this video, I went through my iTunes and I have 4 DMX cuts in here. I have Party Up, Where the Hood At, X Gonna Get It To Ya, and Rough Riders Anthem. And there's more, in the coming days I will probably add on to it. But DMX had quite an interesting life, like a lot of Black men and women, humble beginnings, and things don't always go so well in Black families. And it was the case with DMX. So he had a rough upbringing. And you know how the mainstream news is, they want to harp on negative things. But I notice when white people die, even if they have a shady past, they won't bring it up when they die, but they'll gladly bring it up about Black men and women. And that's why I resent you, and I won't be your audience. I will never be your audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, DMX, which stands for Dark Man X, had a quite interesting career. He put out 5 albums, all reaching #1. And yeah, we see a lot of rappers out here, but there are many that never even reach the heights of DMX in his entire career. So he started life in this world as Earl Simmons, and we know him as DMX. And on this day, he has passed, and he was in White Plains Hospital in White Plains, New York, according to a statement from his family. He had been on life support for the past few days, and I just had this feeling things were not going to turn out right when I heard about him going on life support. So he was 50, which is still relatively young for anybody, really. 50 is pretty young. So Earl, we know, was a warrior. He had to fight to survive in this world. Now, many of you may know DMX had 15 children, and he loved his family and often spoke about that. He loved his family, he cherished them, and the time that he spent with his family was special to him. So we know he definitely is a legend when it comes down to rap. And I think what I loved about DMX was his energy when he rapped, and he had that raspy voice and just all the energy he put into his songs. And it really came out and you felt it. You really did. So he inspired, and many not only in the rap world, but among his fans across the world. And he is very much an iconic figure. A lot of people know the name DMX that don't even live in the US, but they certainly know him and know his music. So, many appreciate and love him, at his craft. And no, he had difficulties in life like everybody on this planet. At some point in time, you will go through difficult times. And he did. And let's face it, that's a damn given for Black people. Okay. We come in this world, and just because of who and what we are, there's going to always be problems. You could be a squeaky clean Black man or woman, no police record, no run ins with the law, no major fights with anybody, and you will still end up in some kind of altercation or some kind of problem will hit you. And, by default, we're always suspicious by people that don't have any room to be judging us at all. With their track record, they shouldn't be judging anything. So I'm not going to go heavily into what he did wrong because that's irrelevant. I bet I can find what Prince Philip did wrong too. I can probably find plenty that he did wrong. So DMX had a signature voice. That's one thing. There is no one that sounds like him. And I like that. I like that he had his own unique sound. And he delivered his lines like a poet. I was listening to the intro of some of his songs, and it's like, wow, he really rhymed that up pretty nice, So he delivered his lines with a lot of aggression, and I think that's what really made him stand above the rest, with lines that really catapult his albums into the number one spot. Is Dark and Hell is Hot, which was a multi-platinum level album that he put out. He followed it up with a string of chart-topping albums. Party Up, Up in Here. I love that. That's one of my favorites by him. His rise into music gave away to acting. And if you remember, he was in Belly and Romeo Must Die and Cradle to the Grave. So he did some acting in his day and time on this earth. So he was born in Mount Vernon, New York in 1970. He told a podcast of people party with Talib Kweli, and he suffered during his childhood. And DMX actually had asthma growing up. And I went to school with a couple of kids that suffered with asthma. And sometimes it was so bad it would keep him up at night. In fact, one of my close friends had asthma. So in 2003, he had an autobiography called Earl, the autobiography of DMX. He wrote he was abused and neglected by his young mother, and he ended up living in a children's home. And then when he turned 14, his mentor had tricked him into smoking crack, and that's how he got into drug addiction. And crack, if you remember, was very addictive. That's why so many within the Black community fell victim to it. I had family members that fell victim to crack. In fact, my cousin that was murdered, he had a terrible problem with addiction. I mean, he would clean up and go through rehab, and he would just keep falling off. It's a tough addiction to beat. Okay, so he reflected on many things that he did throughout his life. And, one of it, were some of the, he went to jail. He went to jail, and that is not an unusual thing in the rap world. So he wrote about what it was like being a teenager and he used to care for stray dogs that he would see in his neighborhood and tending to them and coping with his own problems. It was just probably an outlet. You got to do something. So shortly after his debut, he began acting in movies. And in 1998, he and Nas co-starred in a crime movie called Belly, where DMX played a young criminal on the rise. But DMX fame grew, so did his addiction. So, wow. All I can say is, I'm glad, I don't agree with everything a rapper says, but, I'm glad at least his music can live on and he has such a legacy. It would be easy for his children to remember him. Now, you know, wow. It is just so hard to believe. Now we got another legend that's gone. We got another legend gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think about the passing of DMX. May he rest in power, and my prayers go out to his family and especially his children. You know, um, it's tough as a child losing a parent, and I had a couple of close friends when I was growing up, and they lost their parents during the time I was in grade school. And it's a tough thing. That's a tough you think it's tough for adults, it's even tougher for children. So as you can see, he has Exodus 1:7 tattooed on his neck. And if you go to the King James Version, it says, "And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them." Well, he certainly was fruitful with 15 children. He lived up to that verse. But that's interesting that he tattooed that on his neck. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.